Robbie, today, what's on your radar?
Sure. Switching gears, obviously, Gavin Newsom is not thrilled with California's remaining choices for governor. The race is getting really interesting now that Eric Swalwell, the ostensible frontrunner among the Dems, has had to exit the race.
California is about to get its first Republican governor since Arnold. And it's not because Republicans are winning. It's because Democrats can't stop destroying themselves. That's a dodge. Eric Swalwell, the frontrunner, exits amid sexual misconduct. And now they're scrambling to find anyone not scandalous.
Amid sexual misconduct allegations, but the problem is Newsom thinks the other choices are all terrible. He privately slammed them all. According to CNN, Newsom said the former Congresswoman Katie Porter would drive business away from the state.
If this makes you sick, hit like and subscribe. California is turning red.
He dislikes San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan, the most moderate guy in the race, for personal reasons. He similarly has beef with Antonio Villaraigosa, and he doesn't like Javier Becerra either. Tom Steyer, the far-left billionaire and political activist, is currently leading the pack, though Newsom has understandable concerns about whether he could win and whether he could govern effectively if he does. That's the Democratic side, but of course the California election doesn't have sides at all. The top two candidates in the jungle primary are the ones who will advance, and right now the Dems are so divided that the top two candidates are both Republicans. Steve Hilton, the former Fox News personality endorsed by Donald Trump, is currently the front runner.
Notice what's missing. The top two in the jungle primary are Republicans. That's the collapse. California, blue state, about to have two Republicans at the top.
California Dems, they certainly don't want the election to come down to just two Republicans, so they're hoping Newsom and Nancy Pelosi will work together to help narrow that field. So it's bad news for them that Newsom's apparently dissatisfied with all of these choices. Steyer is indeed a very far-left person, and Katie Porter's been dogged by her own scandals. As I explained earlier this week, for all the deserved attention being paid to Eric Swalwell's misdeeds, Katie Porter's accused of violence against her ex-husband, demeaning and abusive behavior toward staff members, and a dismissive attitude toward voters in California who don't see eye to eye with her. Remember this?
What do you say to the 40% of California voters who you'll need in order to win who voted for Trump?
This is the tell. Katie Porter gets asked about Trump voters and basically says, I don't need them. That's why she can't win.
How would I need them in order to win, man?
Well, unless you think you're going to get 60% of the vote. You think you'll get 60%. Everybody who did not vote for Trump will vote for you. That's what you're saying.
In a general election, yes. If it is me versus a Republican, I think that I will win the people who did not vote for Trump.
What if it's you versus another Democrat?
I don't intend that to be the case.
Huh. As for Matt Mahan, he's polling less well than Porter or Tom Steyer, though he has been rising in the polls thanks to some favorable media attention. Here he was on Morning Joe, touting his record reducing homelessness and crime, two big issues.
Someone who's trustworthy, who has a record. In San Jose, I've led the largest city in Northern California to reduce crime and become the safest big city in the country, reduce homelessness by 1/3 in just a few years, get thousands of homes under construction. We've stood up to the Trump administration. And let me just say, flawed candidates with the kind of baggage that we have from so many in this field can't effectively offer a counterpoint to Donald Trump. The Democratic Party has got to lift up people of high integrity who have a track record of results.
They always avoid this. Matt Mahan reduced crime, reduced homelessness by 1/3, but Newsom hates him because he called out soft on crime policies. They're picking scandals over results.
Reading between the lines, it seems like the reason Newsom doesn't like him is because he's been critical of Newsom and the National Democratic Party's failures to make cities more livable by getting dangerous, deranged people and drug addicts off the street. Americans do not want to live like this, and they're desperate for the Democratic Party to take their concerns seriously. So maybe Newsom should reconsider Mr. Mahan, because if Democrats can get behind someone who doesn't care about crime, they may end up with a Republican governor after all.
And just for context, as we know, California is one of the bluest of blue states in our country. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of absurd that they're up against this position that
they can have two Republicans.
Exactly, where they can have two Republicans, but also they haven't had a Republican governor since Arnold Schwarzenegger in 2011. Mm-hmm. So we're all the way in 2026, and here we are with people that are not only the biggest economies of our country, one of the biggest economies, but also dealing with a lot of the forefront of tech issues and a lot of things that trickle down into other states and affect us all, with leadership being very vocal, overseeing. And I know that's a big deal to you. You talk about the tech space and who's governing and leading.
Our whole economy is is baked into it.
So
right
they
now.
can drop the ball ridiculously here if they don't figure out how to unite and coordinate. There's so much money being spent by Steyer. He spent $89 million on advertisements just in the last few months to no end because he gained no traction. It can't be a Newsom because we know Newsom is not allowed to run again, right? He has term limits.
He's running for president.
He's running for president, but also he couldn't run for governor again. So it can't be just I have an attitude. So one of these things where you throw it up in the air, I'm not going to support any of the candidates because that will lead to a Republican race. Which is not ideal. So I think that Democrats have some deciding to do.
People.
Yeah, you have to pick one. You have to pick one. A lot of, you know what Republicans do well? A lot of people, if you remember, if you have a good recent memory, a lot of Republicans didn't like Trump the first time or the second time. Mm-hmm. And you know what they did? Get in line. Mm-hmm. When they realized we have to figure out how to win an election.
Well, they got in line when he destroyed them all. I mean,
So we need somebody who's a star because there's voter
apathy. In 2024,
apathy.
they tried. The Republican establishment, conservative media, Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis, everyone, the intelligentsia of the Republican Party all said, okay, we've had enough of this Trump thing. It was fun while it lasted, but he's not electable after January 6th. We didn't like that either. We're done with Trump. And Trump said, no, you're not done with me. And he beat them all again. And so that's why it's his party.
Well,
he forced them to fall in line.
What Swalwell started to do because he was so vocal is try to create that star power, which is why he probably had the most traction on the Democratic side. There's no star power, and there's a lot of voter apathy happening in California. And so with no name recognition as well, these were all issues that happened before Swalwell had dropped out of the race.
What it actually means, no one likes these candidates. Steyer spent $89 million for nothing. Voters are done. That's why a Republican might win. That's the thing. Democrats can't unite. Their candidates are either scandal-ridden or too moderate for the base. California is about to fall, and it's because they picked identity policies over results.
There's even more people that we might know their name for the wrong reasons, like Katie Porter. We know her name because she's disrespectful to interviewers and staffers, allegedly. I mean, we've seen some of it with our own eyes.
She seems awful. Tom Steyer's crazy. I mean, the point of my radar, what I'm interested in, clearly the most electable, normal, good-looking politician guy.
You can't keep throwing good-looking in there.
Okay, you know what I mean. Is opposed by Newsom because he doesn't like that guy has called out Newsom and the national or the statewide party for being soft on crime, which is voters' number one complaint with Democrats anyway.
And voters' also big complaint with California is even for Newsom, he's going to have to deal with. The way that you led the state is not ideal for a lot of other people in different parts of the country. And so when they look at some of the things like homelessness or other things, and you don't have strong answers, well, how can we trust you to make major decisions in the future? So you have to break away from Newsom in some ways to be the next governor of California. So.
Indeed. Well, next up, the military is reportedly putting together a plan to launch operations in yet another country, this time in our own backyard. We'll be right back.